Hi everyone, it's Dave and Olive. Thanks for joining us here at Book Blather, where we talk about the books we've read recently to help spread the joy of reading. Today we're talking about the latest release by Sara Gran. Okay, everyone, thanks for joining us here today. We talk if you're new to this channel, we talk a lot of horror, sci-fi, fantasy, but we try to be pretty well read, so we read all types of other fiction and nonfiction as well. Today we're reviewing the latest book by Sara Gran called The Book of the Most Precious Substance. Now, we're reading this book. We read this as part of a buddy read with Mr. Morningstar. We'll link his channel below. If you're not already familiar with Mr. Morningstar, do yourself a favor and go check him out. He does a lot of short, very visually and audibly stimulating videos, book reviews, and only a few minutes each, and very well worth checking out his channel. So definitely go hit the link below and subscribe to Mr. Morningstar. We read this book. Sara Gran is author of a number of books. She's done the popular Claire DeWitt series, which we have not read, but I think is pretty popular. Or Olive and I haven't read it. She's also the author of Come Closer, which a lot of people have been talking about, that we read some time ago. And that book we really did enjoy. That was a novella, sort of a little horror thriller about a woman that has some experiences that lead her to think she is starting to be somewhat controlled by a woman demon, and what happens to her life as she goes through this very fast-paced, pretty exciting little horror story. So we really enjoyed that book. So this one is her latest one. Sara Gran has actually just started her own publishing company called Dreamland Books, which we will also link below. And this is the first publication for her company. Now, this book, I will say right off the bat, because we have a number of things to say about this. So let's just say right up front that we did enjoy this book and we would recommend it. This was a fun book. So what this was about is we follow the main character, Lily, and she's a little bit of sort of down on her luck woman that she's a rare book dealer. And she used to be, she had a young marriage that was wonderful, and she had just become a best-selling author. And then something happened. Her husband got ill, and she basically gave that up, started selling their books, to pay the bills and trying to figure out what was wrong with him, and ended up becoming a rare book dealer. And, he ends up, he's not very functional. He ends up basically in a vegetative state, and she has somebody helping take care of him whenever she's on the road, doing her dealing in books. And so the story starts with where she is at a convention or fair for rare books, and so there are other dealers there as well, and including one that she's friendly with, this guy Lucas. And most of the story revolves around Lily and Lucas. It begins with another book dealer telling them of somebody that is on the lookout for a particularly valuable book that's very rare and that they're willing to pay a tremendous amount of money for. And then something happens, and so Lily and Lucas end up taking up this mantle. And so that starts this adventure of Lily and Lucas going on the hunt for this incredibly rare book. And Lily has somebody that, as I said, a caretaker at home that is taking care of her husband. So she goes off on this adventure with Lucas, who is this handsome, friendly guy that she's somewhat flirtatious with, and they have this sort of mutual attraction, and they go on this hunt for this book. And the book is called The Book of the Most Precious Substance. That's the book they're on the hunt for. And the book is basically it's a cult book. It's a 17th century manual on sex magic, and basically how you can acquire certain power, if you will. And the book has, I won't say too much about it, but the book has sort of sequential activities that you can perform in the quest to develop this, to acquire this power. And so, as you can imagine, they're off on this adventurous hunt for a very rare book that there's so the book is, there's maybe a few of them in existence, and that's part of the mystery and the adventure. And so they go on this adventure to find an extremely rare book that involves a lot of money, that is based on acquiring power through the use of sex magic. So, unsurprisingly, when they're on this adventure, they encounter a lot of interesting people and end up in a lot of interesting places. And the two of them are on this adventure together, and of course are mutually attracted to each other as they're hunting down this book that details these different activities. So the book is, let's just say, incredibly spicy, involving a lot of different people, and it was a lot of fun. It was really fast paced, really addictive, and it was a fun book. There was just a lot of craziness happening throughout it. One thing that we didn't really like about it all that much was that it was a little bit unbelievable in terms of what transpired. And so, of course, a book about sex magic, you have to suspend disbelief with books like this. If you're going to read fantasy or supernatural stuff, of course, you have to suspend disbelief to enjoy the story. But you still, at least for me, you still want a certain amount of realism in terms of, just what people are like and how people are behaving, and how people would really act. Otherwise, then it just really becomes it becomes hard to get fully invested in the story, and that was a little bit of a problem with this one. It was, basically they meet a lot of different people, and every time they met somebody new, it was a successful meeting. They keep meeting people that they don't really know, that end up being very welcoming and inviting them to dinner or whatever it may be, and being very, very hospitable and welcoming. And so it's was a little unbelievable to just, person after person where has somebody that they don't even know just showing up on their doorstep and just saying, well, I have no idea who you are, but sure, come on in, let's have dinner and this and that, and sure, take a look at all my stuff. And so it was a little bit much in that regard, and just a little too much, just so many connections, just a little too much coincidence, to make it a believable story in that sense. It's just a little too much in terms of how people wouldn't really behave that way. But like I said, it wasn't enough to make you not want to read the book. I mean, it was still a fun story, and it was also there was an underlying theme where she has her life at home that's a little depressing for her, and she feels like she's kind of in a rut that she's never going to get out of. And then she goes on this great adventure with this wonderful guy, and it's very exciting, and there's lots of exciting things happening. And so it's a little bit of a sort of self-examination for this particular character, and she's in terms of what the life she dreamed of, and the life she has, and what's important, and what are you willing to do for the things that are truly important. So it was neat in terms of that it had that underlying theme. So I thought the book was actually very similar to, it was totally different story, subject matter, but very similar in terms of the type of book. I thought to come closer. The writing's fine. It's not great prose, right? But the writing was fine. It's not intended to be a book like that. It's just meant to be a fast-paced, very addictive read. And that's what it was. And it also had this like I said, it had this underlying theme under there, which was, give it more of a meaningful impact as well. So yeah, that's all we're gonna say about it, because we don't really want to spoil anything else. But if this is one of those, it's kind of a book for book lovers. It's if you like stories about rare books, and you like stories about magic, and you like stories that are a bit spicy, then you'll like this. This was a bit of fun, even though we had, like I said, we had a few little issues. It wasn't that big of a deal, and you'd probably enjoy this. So, The Book of the Most Precious Substance by Sara Gran. We'll leave the review with that. We would recommend reading it. We think that probably most of you would have fun with this. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell so that you get notified the next time Olive says it's okay to upload another video. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you soon, but in the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next time.